Today, I am here with Sue Gordon, who has an accomplished career in intelligence. And we're going to talk today about what we need to know as we navigate our careers, not only professionally, but personally. Sue, thank you for being with us.
Well, thanks. Glad to be here.
So can you start, first of all, it's such an honor to talk to you because I've never sat down with someone who's been in Central Intelligence and National Intelligence, so I'm in awe of what you have done in your career.
Thanks.
Tell us a little bit about your journey and what brought you to one of the highest ranking levels in intelligence.
So, well, thanks for having me. Yeah, CIA has a great brand, right? I was in college and I couldn't decide what I wanted to do. I couldn't decide if I wanted to get my PhD in biomechanics or go to law school so that I could argue with people. And I thought, well, if those are your two choices, maybe you need to go get a job and figure out which paths you want to take. And CIA was recruiting on campus. And I thought, well, that sounds cool. So I interviewed and they hired me.
And you stayed.
And I stayed. And I really, it's a great question. I stayed for a career. I intended to do it for about 3 years while I figured out what I was doing. My dad was a naval officer, so public service was kind of in my family history. But for me, the CIA just turned out to be a great match. It was public service, great purpose. I'm a real curious person. And if you're a curious person, intelligence is the game for you. And it turns out that I could do any job, from analysis to build systems, to run human operations, to run huge support enterprises, all within the Central Intelligence Agency. So it suited me, right? And I tell people all the time, I don't know that anyone really should spend 40 years as I did in the government doing roughly the same thing, but it is a great first 5 years because to learn that there are big things to be done, and it's great at giving you responsibility early, and I loved both those things about it.
Why do you think all the data I see with women who are in fields, technology fields, women tend not to stay? There's a high rate of about year 13, I believe the data says, where women exit the technology industry, and technology was such a huge part of your career. Why do you think women don't stay?
Okay, so you've read the data. I'll give you the Sue Gordon theory.
Okay.
And it's born of my expertise, my experience a little. So the same trend is true in college. Do you know freshman year, as many women enroll in engineering and computer science as men, but by their junior year, they've lost all but about 30% of them.
So the Sue Gordon theory is?
Sue Gordon theory is we ought to look at how we teach subjects. Because I think for me, the struggle was my vision was always so big. This ideational fluency that women have that is both maddening and wonderful. It tends to make you not want to just do pedantic things, but do bigger things. And the truth is, you got to learn the backbreaking physical labor of a craft before you can go on to run it and do bigger things. So I think how we think about those early jobs, what we expect people to do, could be a little bit better designed for the kind of intellect that women bring to a task. And I think the other thing that happens in careers is women, more than men, get identified and offered staff positions early, right? Because we're energetic and we're smart and we're connectors. These are all broad stereotypes, but they have some truth. And so who wouldn't want their chief of staff or their staff officer to be? The problem is people need you in that position, but the organization values line leadership. And if you too early go into those kind of connecting jobs without having demonstrated the craft, you will have a shorter future. So I don't know it's that they aren't interested in the technical aspects, and certainly not that they're not able, but how they think about the world, what they want to do with it, is somehow not consistent with how we expect careers to go. And so I think it's probably both the organizations and the individual's responsibility. The individual, you got to learn a craft.
Right.
And the organization, you want to be able to have all this different talent available on your big jobs.
Right. And you and I talked a little bit yesterday when we first met about the common theme of, we know women have to work hard, we know women have to speak up to have their voice heard, but it is really truly that working hard and producing results that will kickstart you into your career. And was that your formula? When you told me you were a hacker, I was like, ooh, what did you hack? And so did you learn that lesson early on, that my results, and I need to show my results, I can't expect somebody just to see them, I need to be sure they're aware of them. How did you navigate through that government agency all the way to the top?
Yeah, so I think I'm perhaps the least politically savvy person in the universe. So it wasn't through focusing on relationships. It was early on focusing on performance. I understood the job I had to do, and I spent all my energy in the space that I owned. And if I could offer one thought to anyone who's listening to this, it is energy outside of you is wasted energy. Thinking what your boss should be doing or what someone else should be doing, that's bad energy. Focus on your job. Do it really well, and then understand what it's really about. That will be your transportation to the next job. And then if you focus on that, and then you just keep blooming and building, people who can do things are really surprisingly rare. And so you can make a wonderful career being the person that does things. And that's really what transported me more than any sort of great connections. Now, over time, I recognize that you can't get any work done on your own. I have huge networks of folks, but it always started with, what was I supposed to be doing and how could I be really good at it? And then how could I involve others to get bigger problems? And that was my transportation. It wasn't anything more clever than that.
Well, you are uniquely qualified to take this moment for the mPower community. We've talked about cyber threats today at a conference that we're at, and you have great advice. So what would be the one or two tips you would want to tell the women looking at this video they should consider, not only in their personal life, but perhaps in their professional life, around cybersecurity? How do we show up as not only good corporate citizens, but protect ourselves?
I think the way you should start any endeavor is to really understand what you're doing in all its dimensions. I think recently we've all started focusing so much on the task that we have rather than the job that we're doing. So first things first, understand what it is you're doing. And then second thing, understand that there are those who would try and stop you from doing that well for their purposes, and saying, well, if I know this is what I do and I know its importance, then I am now prepared to protect it against those that would do it harm. The most challenging harm that we have right now is cyber. And so there are things that everyone should do as an individual or as an organization. You should be good at computer hygiene. You should not click on the email that you don't understand.
And when you travel,
use a VPN. Don't log into the hotel Wi-Fi. It's very
no
insecure.
offense to hotels. It's just, it tells you right there the network is unsecure. So if it's unsecure, it's not a highway for you.
Yeah, absolutely. What you're doing is important. There are those who would like to get into it, and their easiest way is through digital means, and you don't want to be the transportation for that.
So switching gears just a little bit, what is the biggest career risk you've taken, and would you do it again?
Yes. Would I do it again? I lived the life that I had no right to expect. I think the biggest generalized career risk, if someone I respected asked me to do something, I always said yes. And I never spent any time worrying about, would it get me somewhere? Would it make me look good? Or would I get in trouble for it? All those things happened over time. But saying yes is a risky venture, and it's one that served me well. The most individually risky move I made was, I was a career intelligence officer that is definitionally apolitical. When I was asked by former President Trump to be the principal deputy director of national intelligence, I was valued for my career in intelligence, but it was a political appointment. I'm like, I don't know, if I take a political appointment, I will forever be associated with a political party without politics. And I said, nah, go ahead and do it. The President of the United States asked you to do your job, you did it. And so I said yes. But that was probably the biggest tussle I had, because I felt like if the wrong things happened, people would perceive me as having a side, and I never have a side other than America.
Well, that's a great note to end on, because you have done such an amazing career protecting America, and you're continuing that by not only championing things about cybersecurity, but making sure we're all aware of our responsibility in it. So Sue, thank you for being with me today.
Thanks for having me.